Old Fashioned Football on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by our Patreon. Score exclusive perks, content, and contests, including our NFL win totals contest with a $1,000 prize. Join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app to get last-minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. Use promo code SGPN for $20 off.
Hey, what's up? This is Sam Acho, and you're listening to Old Fashioned Football.
Old-fashioned football.
You make this deal right now, you pancake-eating mother.
All right, deal.
Old-fashioned football.
Welcome to Old Fashioned Football. If you're wondering who you're listening to, this is J Mark. You can find me on Twitter at JMarkFootball, and we're on YouTube right now. So go to Old Fashioned Football Podcast on YouTube, and hello, how you doing? Before I continue going, I gotta introduce my partner. Sorry, we were recording this after we actually met with the distiller that we're having coming up, and we've already been drinking our whiskey.
So you're like burping and hiccuping over there while you're trying to bring me in. Bring me into the show, Justin. Bring me into the show.
You can find her on Twitter. She's my partner on the pod and in life, my co-host on the pod and in life. You can find her on Twitter at @TheMurmark Miranda. Mur, how you doing today?
Doing great. As you already said, we just got done interviewing. It was an amazing interview. It was so much fun. So I feel like we need to just get it kicked off, and let's get over to the interview, Justin.
Absolutely. You guys are going to enjoy this one. All right, everybody. We've been telling you that we were going to have a special guest, and today is the day on Whiskey Wednesday. Located in Seattle, Washington, the owner and founder of Two Bar Spirits. We're going to be drinking some whiskey with him later today and talking a lot of whiskey. Nathan Kaiser, how you doing today?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. I love to talk whiskey and with any whiskey lover. So I think we found like-minded souls, if you will.
Yeah, so we are going to get along great.
Absolutely.
Or as I say, you had me at hello.
That's right. Now, we already let you know we won't grill you on any football because you said you weren't into the football. In fact, you said they kicked you out of Texas because of that.
Yeah, it was a bit painful for the ego and the the self-confidence. They let me visit every now and then, but yeah, I'm like the only guy from Texas who didn't get big into football, and instead of like BSing about it, I was just like, look, I don't watch it, I don't play it. I love it. If I get to go a game every 10 years, I'm like, hey, this is great. I love overpaying for beer as much as the next guy. Yeah, it's like they kicked me out. It was painful. They revoked my visa. It is what it is.
Yeah, there you go. You're the second person. Well, actually, I don't know if Ryan Bingham is from Texas, but he's got his own whiskey now. Also not into football at all, doesn't like football. So the second Texas person that doesn't like football.
Well, I think that's 2 out of 34 million. So we might be
right
in the minority.
Yeah.
Everybody from Texas is like, so what's your favorite team? And I was like, of what?
Right.
That doesn't go over well, but it's okay.
Love it.
I've gotten past it.
Well, that's right, because you can talk whiskey. You know whiskey very well, and we thank you for taking time to meet with us on Old Fashioned Football. So why don't we get right into distilling and whiskey?
Yeah. So what do you want to know about our humble little brand and what we're doing and why?
Well, first, can we take it back a little bit and start at the beginning with how you got into distilling?
Sure. So I hope the feds aren't watching, but I was doing a little bit of home boiling in the basement, if you will, and some delicious elixir came out of that boiling that happened. And I was like, you know what? This is really awesome. I've always been a bourbon guy, and I was making some bourbon mash in my basement. Somehow it got boiled. And I was like, this isn't that bad. Although I I still, if you were to taste that stuff versus what we're making now, you would be like, dude, what the hell were you thinking back then? Versus them saying, what the hell are you thinking now? That would have me worried, right?
Right.
But and I was like that guy, and I was a COO of a tech company, and I was like, you know what? I love tech. Okay, I'm lying. I liked it. It was fun. I worked with great people, but I wanted to make a huge career shift, and we just had our third son, and I went up to my wife and I said, "Hey, I want to make whiskey." Our first son, I think I said that. And she goes, "Yeah, you should do that." So I left the room before she could change her mind, and I think she rues that decision ever since. She's all joking aside, she's amazing, hugely supportive of the enterprise and everything we're doing. But I'm the only guy to use pregnancy hormones to his advantage to start a whiskey distillery. That's for damn sure.
Love it.
Love it. Yeah, no, I left that room and I filed the paperwork. I started the incorporation documents and started raising money within 5 minutes, because I was like, I better get off to the races before she changes her mind.
There you go. There you go.
That's awesome.
I believe I recently said I needed just a very small still that I saw, and you said you wouldn't know what you're doing with it.
You wouldn't. You would not
Probably
know.
figure it out, right? I mean,
Right.
You just turn up the heat here, turn the cooling on here, and you're ready to rock and roll.
There you go. All right, before we continue talking about whiskey, I got to tell you about Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite event, it shouldn't be stressful. Sometimes it is, though. You're trying to find the best seats. You don't exactly know what you're getting, but Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. Maybe you can get tickets to Sean Green's comedy show. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun you're going to have. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Maybe we should see if there's good tickets for the concert we're going to this Sunday. Just kidding. We already got our tickets. But if we didn't, we would go to Game Time and get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That's more than 100%, just in case you were unaware. I really kind of want to go. We were just in Minneapolis. We saw the US Bank Stadium where the Vikings play, and I thought, man, going to a Bears game there would be awesome. But we never know what the weather's going to be. It's Minnesota, it's Iowa. I'm going to check Game Time. Maybe we'll get a last-minute ticket. And you can get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. I love that. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps, you're set. Tickets get sent directly to your phone. You never have to dig for them through your email, worry if they go to junk, anything like that. Snag the tickets without stress with Game Time. Download that Game Time app, create an account, use code SGPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use code SGPN, $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now back to the whiskey. So we mentioned you were from Texas. I read on the website that Two Bar is the name of your family ranch. Can you talk a little bit about the ranch and then how you decided to use that name for your distillery?
I can. Yeah. That is like my heart and soul. Well, that's not true. My heart and soul is where my wife and my kids are, right?
Sure.
But my center is that ranch. It's been in the family for about 5 generations. It's about 420 acres. Used to be a lot bigger, but in previous generations, it got culled down. It sold off as families do. I think it started off at like 1,600 acres, and now we've got 420. Still pretty big, but
Yeah.
I mean, it is awesome, right? Everybody has their memories of their place with, whether it was grandma's place or a family place they would go to, whether it was a ranch, a farm, a place in the woods or on the water. And to be frank, we're losing that, right? Like family, where do families go anymore, right? If grandma's passed, there's usually a patriarch, but normally it was a matriarch who kept the family together. And we had the same thing. And we would always go there for, Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter and, God forbid in the summer. But and so that is a special place for me. And I remember I spent every moment I could, whether as a young man, a young adult, or definitely an older adult, down there working with my grandmother and my grandfather, right? Like I couldn't be bothered to do any chores at home. I mean, it was like, Nathan, can you vacuum the family room? Oh my God. Oh, good Lord. And my grandfather would be like, hey, do you want to go? It's a 4-hour trip through the most rural parts of Texas to go buy feed, and then we got to go preload all of the cattle feeder, the feeders, and work cattle, and it's like 110 degrees. It's just scorching hot. The truck had no AC, and I was like, let's go, let's do it. And then my grandfather put the kibosh on me as a farmer. He would always grab these hands and go, those are city boy hands, like the only calluses are from the fingertips and working on the keyboard.
Sure.
And so if I can't ranch, I might as well shine, is what I came up with.
Nice.
But all joking aside, this is my homage to that heritage, that history, and those that came before me.
Very cool.
I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, 420 acres. You said it was scaled down. That's still a lot. I mean, we have 8 and I can barely keep up with it. So,
well, by Texas standards, Justin, it's like minuscule, right? Like,
I'm sure. Yeah.
People are like, that's my backyard. I was like, okay, come on.
Well, for us Iowans, it sounds like a lot.
That does.
I mean, like anywhere, right? But like, the fact, back to that point, like, the fact that we have a place to go, right? That has that heritage and where family can get together. I remember I opened the distillery and this lady, an older lady, reached across the tasting room and the bar, and she grabbed my hand and she goes, we used to have a place to go. Right. Like,
cool.
And you're like, it's gone. It's that part of the American legacy is dissipating, right? As we lose connection. And, in Iowa, like in Ohio, and like the family farms are sold off. They're gone. And I think we're losing a lot of our legacy and our rich cultural heritage with that. So.
For sure.
So you went from, brewing in your basement, and then your wife
boiling stuff.
Boiling in your basement. And then deciding to start Two Bar. What was that process like for you? And how long, did it take for you guys to get up and running?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that was, my son Eli was born in 2010 July, and that was in like October that I talked to my wife, and then I was off to the races. I incorporated that night, right? October 17th, 2010. But it took a year to find a building or a location. It took another 12 months actually to get up and running, right? I was like, I came in this so cold, I didn't know anything. Right. Some might say I still am in that paradigm, but I was like, oh my God, you got to there's a state requirement permit. I knew there was a state incorporation, but I was like, you got to get licensed with the local alcohol agency. In our case, the Liquor Control Board. Now it's the Liquor Cannabis Board, but how things change. And then, there's the TTB, the Tax Trade Bureau. You've got to register as a DSP, distilled spirits plant. So that all took a year. And so we opened on October 20th, 2012. So 2 years from start to finish. And then, never do what I did, right? Like it was so dumb. If you were to check off the dumb check boxes, it'd be like Nathan, because I was like, I'd never worked in the spirits industry. I'd never worked retail. I'd never worked in a bar. I didn't know shit, right? Like I was like, oh, you need a distributor? Oh, who knew? What are those? Oh, you need to buy bottles. That part I figured out on my own. But like, it was so dumb, right? But what I am really good is at listening and learning from people and learning quickly, right? Like I have a thing that I live by, which advice only applies to the people giving it, right? Like How many times has somebody given you advice and you're like, Mom, that's great advice, but that applied to you, right? And there's a
Right,
wisdom,
yeah.
and it could be mom, it could be
Mhm.
dad, it could be grandmother, grandfather, it could be random friend, random people at the checkout line, right? Everybody's got advice for everybody else, but it only applies to them. However, if you listen hard enough, there's usually a nugget in there that you can apply to yourself, or in most cases, right?
Mhm.
And so I just went on a listening tour and talking to everyone. I talked to the two not best guys I talked to, but maybe the most insightful for someone who didn't know anything, was I went to the two largest distributors in Washington, Southern Wine and Spirits, now Southern Glaziers, and Young's, which is now RNDC. And these guys were senior management, right? And I wasn't pitching to them to get picked up by them, but I was like, hey, what are the things I need to know? And they said to me verbatim, almost like they had been talking the night before, they were like, we would love to bring you on, but we will screw you. They use a different they use a 4-letter word starting with F, you know?
Sure.
And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. Tell me more. And they're like, look, we're a big brand company, right? We do Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, all the big brands, and would love to bring you in. But what we'll do is we'll bring you in, and we will not do anything with you. It'll sit in there in the back warehouse, and you'll die quickly on the vine, because our reps, even if you go get a placement in a bar and or a restaurant, are commissioned almost to take your bar back off that thing and put in one that they're getting commissioned directly from the brand and from us.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the whole game is awesome. I mean, it's like cutthroat. It is.
All right.
It's brutal. It's open warfare, and it's sick that I kind of love it, right? But like, as a small brand that's well undercapitalized, right? You're up against, if you decide to start your own distillery, you're going up against guys that are netting billions of dollars a year, right?
Mhm.
And you're not. Right. So
Right.
how you can only be plucky to a level, right? And it's like, how do you compete, and how do you compete in a space where you are screwed, right? Your production costs are usually 2 to 3 times higher per bottle than theirs, right? Because they're like let me see, what's the right figure here? I am making in a year in production what Heaven Hill, you guys know Heaven Hill, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
makes in an hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
And
Oh
they
my goodness.
never stop production, right? What's the other one? Four Roses. Is it Four Roses? Yeah. Makes in 2 hours and 40 minutes what I make in a year.
Wow.
And they're
That's
both trying to double production. So like, I don't even exist as a rounding error's rounding error.
Sure.
Right. And then, in the bars and restaurants, they're like, well, how much can you pay me? And I was like, so I was talking to a bar in Nevada, in Vegas, and they were like, we'd love to bring you on. I was like, oh, great. And they're like, it'll cost you $120,000
Oh,
to
wow.
get a bottle placement on the back bar.
Wow.
And you're like,
I had
well,
no idea that
can I
was.
give you,
Yeah.
can I give you a hug?
All right, we're taking a quick second here. We're going to get back to Nathan in just a minute, but we'd like to tell you about SGPN's Patreon. Sign up for the Patreon to get access to exclusive contests, including the NFL Win Totals contest with a $1,000 first place prize. Besides season-long contests, they also have weekly contests just for the Patreons, plus a monthly SGP Stories podcast, completely ad-free and full of behind-the-scenes stories from SGPN. There is even a Discord channel just for Patreons. Only you can prevent corporate gambling. Do your part and sign up today. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon.
And don't forget, if you sign up today, this week's contest, it's a pick'em contest, some baseball games, some NFL preseason games, $75 store gift card.
All right, back to Nathan.
So, I mean, it's like, it's brutal. And so the way that I think, survived and thrived is one, we keep it fucking honest, right? Like
Mhm.
we've never made or sold a single drop of anybody else's bourbon ever, right? Like a reporter from one of the local newspapers when I first met him was like, "Hey, this whiskey's really good. Where did you get it?" And I go, I'm making it." And he looked at me and leaned in and he goes, "Hey, where are you really buying it?" And I go, "Fuck you."
Right.
Mhm.
I'm slaving. And like in the early days, we were running 22 hours a day, 5 days a week to make
Wow.
like a non-existent batch of whiskey, right? It was so small. Like we were collecting like this, you know, out of a 50-gallon stainless steel oil drum with 2 3-inch copper pipes coming off the top. Don't ever do that. That's so dumb, right?
Yeah.
You know, so if I'm telling anybody who's going to start their own, I was like, start with higher production quantity, like capability, and don't waste time. But like, I didn't have the money, right? I bootstrapped this stupid thing, and I say stupid, but I really fucking love it.
Sure.
Like I'm an addict, but yeah, like don't do it the way we did, right? Like we had a bulk milk tank from Umer's Dairy, so like imagine you guys know this, like a trough cut in half, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
And a roto hammer drills our paint with a paint mixer on the end was our mash. It was so dumb. It was like so dumb. But we're still here, and you know, we're like the largest privately owned bourbon distillery in the state of Washington, and that and a bag of peanuts won't get you very far, but you know, it's cool. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It's definitely something to be proud of.
Mhm.
I think it's awesome that you right out the gate were making and selling your own, because we have talked with a lot of distilleries that they have this idea, they want to open, they just want to get it going. So they start by buying and they say, you know, well, we want to do our own products several years down the line. And I think it's really neat that you've just stuck to you, stuck to you, trusted your stuff and gone with that. And I think that's really cool to me.
Well, everybody has their own path, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I believe strongly that one, I don't, if anybody sources, hey, that's great, you know. You've got a different model, a different game plan. But because we're so small and we're not Jim or Jack and have crazy market share and crazy marketing dollars, the minute you start deviating from your messaging is you're losing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, for everything is, so for almost 9 years, we had one SKU, right? We had
Wow.
what is now the bottled and bond. It started out as 100 proof bourbon, and then it became straight bourbon, and then it became bottled and bond, right?
Okay.
Which no other craft distillery that I know of is doing that, right?
Right.
But we had one SKU because I was like, I can't be everything to everybody. If you want a vodka, I mean, we made vodka in the very early days, and we still make a moonshine, but it was like the moonshine is like we make one batch every 2 to 3 years, and it's just for shits and giggles out of the taster. It's delicious. Of course, everybody says that about their own juice. You know, no one ever says
Right.
it's all right. You know, it might give you hives. But the vodka we were making, and I was like, why are we making vodka? I want to be a bourbon distillery. So I think we made it for like the first 8 months, and we got it into like Trader Joe's, and we got it into really good retail, and people loved it, right? But fuck vodka, right? Like,
Right.
It's not
I'm
whiskey.
dropping a lot of F-bombs. I apologize.
You're all good. You're good.
It's not family friendly. The kids aren't running around in the back, you know.
Nope. We allow it.
Yep, we're good.
Okay. One, it's a race to the bottom, right? Because of cost. But two, I'm not passionate about it. And this business is so hard that if you're not passionate about something, stop.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, I mean, it's like, you know, I joke that I tried to date a lot in high school and college. And so I got rejected. I got used to rejection early, right? And that's kind of a lie because I didn't really try to date a lot in high school. I was too nervous. But in college, I tried to make up for it. But like, you know, if you're not ready for rejection, and if I'm like, hey, look, did you like vodka? How about my vodka? Oh no, how about my gin? Oh, how about my absinthe? Oh, how about my, you know, blah, 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 insert liqueur or whatever here. I was like, no, I'm here to sell you bourbon. And if you like it, that's great. And if you don't, thank you for your time. I'll be back tomorrow. you know.
Yeah.
But like, don't waste people's time and do what you're passionate about, and just stay like freaking, what is it, like the horse with the blinders on.
Yeah. Love it.
So,
So this is probably a loaded question. But what's your favorite thing about distilling?
honestly, like, I love every morning milling 1,000 pounds of grain, and it's me and my head distiller Maddie, right? So she does all the hard work. I'm just there to look pretty. And we buy the corn directly and the wheat directly from a farmer out of Central Washington. The milling 1,000 pounds, and you see the whiskey become, or actually the wash become the new, the low wines, and then the low wines becoming the hearts, and then the hearts becoming the whiskey, and then you sip it with friends. Or like today, I went to had a doctor's appointment, and the guy was like, "Oh, I know 2 Bar. I love 2 Bar." And I was like, "What the hell, man? That's awesome." Like, it's just that, right? Like, doing something with your hands is a lost thing, unless you're a teenage kid. That's a horrible joke. Sorry. Horrible. You can edit that one out. Good God.
I'm leaving it in.
You do you, buddy. You got it. I'm the one that said it, so it's on me. Even the back of my head, I was like, "Don't say it, Nathan. Don't say it." I was like, I put that guy away a long time ago.
Right.
But like the fact that you make something that allows people to make long-lasting memories, or to commiserate a success, or sometimes to commiserate a loss. And that's something people enjoy. Like, it's fantastic, right? Like, and while I'm not a rancher, I get to support, that family legacy and help keep the thread going. And it's a gift that I've been given.
Very cool.
So, one of my questions for you, what is, of everything that's out there for 2 Bar right now, what is your favorite
Whiskey?
bourbon? Yeah.
Well, good Lord, that depends on whether it's morning, noon, or night, No. I will say they each have a place in my heart, right? Like, so the 80 proof is like super accessible, and like I love drinking. Like last night I just poured it over like a rock. Although look, it's already half melted. Freaking, I just put it in there when we started the conversation.
Get that water out of there.
Yeah. And then, like the amaretto is a little bit of that sweetness, almost like a old fashioned, if you will, but at 90 proof, because it's got a little bit of that sweetness, a little bit of the nuttiness, but not over the top on either, a little stronger at 90 proof. And then the wine barrel tends to be my go-to when I'm sipping neat, because it's got a little of that complexity, the wine notes, the tannins, and the mouthfeel. But then for like just pure freaking flavor, the Bottled and Bond is crazy, right? 100 proof, super sipping whiskey, and just delicious. But like, I don't know, I got 3 kids, right? They're always like, "Which one's your favorite?" I was like, "It depends on the day." And every day you're in the running,
Right.
And so, yeah, it just depends. But generally it's the wine barrel. And the wine barrel, nobody's doing an amaretto barrel finish. Nobody's doing a wine barrel finish. But the amaretto tends to be have more of a draw because of the sweetness, right? But the wine barrel, like that, the tannins, the complexity, and everything, it's more like a Manhattan. So I'd say the wine barrel is generally my favorite, but I like them all.
Okay.
Of course.
I was going to ask this when we were doing some tasting, but I'm going to jump to it now. You see a lot of like aged in sherry casks, or the port finishes, rum finish. I think this is the first amaretto finish that I've seen. How'd you decide to do that? What brought that about?
Yeah, that was a crazy fun one. So we have friends up in Sons of Vancouver Distilling, and you may want to talk to them. They just won Best New Canadian Whiskey this year.
Okay.
Awesome guy, awesome. James Lester and his team. And we were like, he's like, "Hey, you got any barrels? I'm thinking about making some whiskey." And I was like, "Sure," because we can only use them once. and
Right,
they don't have that limitation on them. So he was like, I might put some amaretto in there, so they make a delicious amaretto. And then I was like, hey, what if I got those back? Why not? And we got those very barrels back, and then finished our bourbon in them. And then you're like, holy shit, this is delicious, you know.
Yeah.
So that was just serendipity, right? I'd love to say have my white cat, you know, and I'm like, no, Mr. Bond, I plan for you to die. No, I was just like, hey, let's try this, see what happens. And the same
Yeah.
was with the wine barrel, and it's a blend of bold red barrels. Everybody does the sherry, and everybody does, you know, the port, and that's great. You know, I love doing what everybody else is doing. But you know, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the sailing term a flyer. You guys. So if you're in a pack and you're racing in a sailboat, right? And if you're here and you're all trying to go that direction, you're never going to get to the front. And it's my analogy in business too, right? If you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're fucked, right? You're screwed. So you got to take a flyer. You got to go, hey, I believe in this. I'm going to go this way. And everybody else is still here. And you might come out back, you know, everybody goes, and that did not work, right? But every once in a while, if you do something novel and you execute on it, you go, hey, oh, that was fun, right? And I think that it's true in any business. It's true in any industry. If you're, you know, like, if you do what everybody else is doing, who cares? Right? And I love a sherry cask finish and a port barrel finish, right? So, I mean, who doesn't? But if I, you know, and we might still do it, but it'd be like a one-off. But yeah, I like doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that is just very intriguing
Yeah,
to me.
So good, right? Like a little bit of ice, or even in like honestly, like an old fashioned. It's really what else was I drinking in it? I even pulled it up. Hold on. I have so many cocktails that I cycle through for my wife. She doesn't drink a lot of whiskey straight. I'm still working on her on that. A paper plain, it's delicious. Oh, and a bourbon sour.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be
So that's what
interesting. All right. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What's your favorite non-2-bar whiskey?
Well, they're all shit. So, I mean, to be honest, there's so much great stuff out there. We can't get it here in Washington, but for the value, for the cost, the old Heaven Hill bottled in bond at like $14 a bottle. That stuff was like 6 years old, and for $14, you're like, this is delicious. I hate saying that.
Right.
You know, I like the esoteric ones like that. I mean, yeah, they're all good. Not as good, of course. I'm trying to think. Put me on the spot.
You know, we put it's
I
just
do it to everybody.
we do it to everybody. So
No, I think it's a good question. Let me see here. I like some good rye. Yeah, I kind of only drink 2-bar. One, I get it cheap,
Right.
and two, it's delicious. But you know, I try to drink a lot of other stuff, but not too much. But mostly, it's like I sample at buddies' houses because I don't drink. You know, if you don't, it's like you don't drink your own juice, then what the hell are you doing?
Right. Yeah.
But I would say like the Heaven Hill, Elijah Craig. I'm not a fan of a lot of other stuff out there. I think a lot of stuff is just too freaking bland. Right? Or like in my case, it's like if it's a one-note wonder, then you can stop wasting my time. And I think a lot of whiskeys are like that. You know, I'm not going to name names, but you know who they are. But they're all well made and they're all great, but they're like boring. And I think, you know, I keep telling people like you don't have, not you, but the proverbial you, you're going to be blown away by craft whiskey, like, you know, craft beer, right? Like I'm not, you know, the IPA is a little overdone and stuff, but like, you know, flavor is amazing, and the new stuff that you're getting, and even the geographic centric flavors that you're getting are pretty phenomenal, right? Like this, you know, I don't think anybody's doing a 6-grain mash bill like we're doing, but if you did that same 6-grain mash bill here versus Iowa, it'd be totally different whiskey. Same process, same, and that the terroir, if you will, of whiskey is probably pretty subtle, but it's still there. So I just tell people, be open to trying a lot of the new stuff that's coming out, and just enjoy it for what it is, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
How was that for a
interesting.
deflection? A grade right
like
there,
it.
baby. Maybe
That's
even
right.
A plus.
No, it's interesting. You mentioned the one note wonder. When we kind of really got into whiskey, it's like we were seeking like, oh, that's so smooth. And now that I've had so many different whiskeys and tried so many different things, when I try one that's smooth, it's just like, all right,
Okay,
this
well,
can
that's
go-
all I can say about it.
Yeah. All I can
You
say
want
is it's
complex
smooth,
and you want to
yeah,
pick up all these
yeah.
different
different
flavors. Yeah.
yeah.
Like life is
So-
short, right? You want uniqueness and you want flavor, because man, we don't know if we're going to be gone tomorrow. So like, live it up now, within
Yeah,
moderation, of course.
Sure.
You know, but like,
Moderation is key.
amen to that. You know, but I agree. I think when people are like, "Oh, it's smooth," I was like, "That's all you've got? Come on, do better. One up me."
Yeah.
So we have asked distillers this before, and everybody kind of has different roles and responsibilities depending on the place. But what is your day-to-day like?
I mostly chill out, read. No, so you know, so we're the top 10 production distilleries in Washington. Washington's like, we've got like 120, 130 distilleries, you know, for a very small population, like 7 million top line. And it's just Maddie and I. And that's not true. It's Maddie, myself, and Sony. Sorry. Sony is amazing. She's an assistant distiller and does some sales for us, but she works like a day a week. So it's like, I have 1.2 employees, if you will. And we run mean, lean operating machine. So Maddie is in charge. As soon as I cross over, we have, I'm so cheap. We have a tasting room, and I still work at the tasting room bar, right? I just stand up, and that's my work office. And then anytime I cross the threshold into the production facility, Maddie's the boss. And so she's in charge of production, bottling, sourcing, and all that stuff, although I help quite a bit there where I can and where she wants. But I'm in charge of the marketing, the sales, the finance, all the other stuff to keep the business running. Yeah, and we've always run a mean, lean operating machine, right? If your production costs are 2 to 3 times higher than everybody else, there's not a lot of room for having huge staff. I know people who make less whiskey than I and have smaller revenue than I that have like 5, 6, 7, 8 people. I'm like, what the hell is going on? You know, like, you got to run it. And we've been very fortunate we're profitable. We're small, but we're profitable. And that's like the first step to long-term growth, right? And yeah, I was back to that conversation I had with Heaven Hill, and sorry, it was Makers, Mark. I misspoke earlier. And they're like, "Oh, that's great. You're doing good." Yeah. When I told them the volume differences in terms of what they were making in production versus us, and I was like, "That's great. Did you start the company 140 years ago? I don't think so." I'm doing it the way I want to do it, the way we, and we're executing to a plan. But to your question, so I run like all the business side of it, and I can run production. I'm just nowhere near as good as Maddie. That freaking woman just crushes it, right? Like, she makes more whiskey per capita than anybody in the state.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
she just had her like third kid. I'm like, yeah. And so I have 3 kids, she has 3 kids. I think we're the only distillery with a changing table in the bathroom, right? Like, where's Ellen and I?
Love it. So you kind of answered this, but even though it's 2023, it seems like there's still a lot of people that think, well, bourbon can only be made in Kentucky, or that Kentucky and Tennessee is the only place you can find a distillery. This is our first Washington whiskey. So what's the distilling scene like there in Washington, or even just in Seattle?
I mean, it's pretty dynamic.
Is it?
Like, we have like I think at our height, we had like 150 distilleries in Washington. Washington is blessed, like you guys, with we've got a lot of stuff that's grown here, especially Central Washington, a lot of wheat, a lot of corn, maybe not as much corn as other people, but we're trying our best, but also amazing amounts of fruit, grapes, apples, pretty much any kind of fruit that you want. And so that led to a really a bonanza in the people producing it, right? So whether it's vodka, potatoes, or wheat vodka, whiskeys, we grow a lot of rye, corn and wheat in our case, but a lot of liqueurs, a lot of like strawberry liqueurs and cherry liqueur, and pretty much any liqueur that you want made from a fruit you can find here in Washington from the local distilleries. It's pretty competitive. Washington State kind of sucks in that the taxes here are killer. You know, like if you're buying a bottle of bourbon, say for $30, you're paying a 20.5% sales tax. You're paying on top of that a per liter fee. The retailers have to pay 17% of gross to the state. The distributors have to pay 5% of gross to the state. So the state of Washington makes more money in, I believe, if my math adds up, and I haven't looked at it in a while, than all the other players, you know, because of all those taxes. And that drove out a lot of the small independent retailers. So it's all big box stores. So it's hyper competitive. It's nuts. And you know, you're always battling for that shelf space so that those consumers can find you, because ultimately, you know, running a distillery is hard, but it's a sales side and getting out into the market that is really brutal. But that's true everywhere, right? Like whether in Ohio, which is a control state, right? So this committee determines who gets to sell into the state, and you're like, what the hell? You know? Wait, what was your question again? I got off on a tangent.
No, you're good. Just like the distillery scene in Washington, Seattle. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's really cool. I would say we're very cooperative. I'm the VP of the Distilling Guild up here. I resign about every day, and the president of the guild never accepts my resignation. But yeah, you know, I think generally we try to support each other. I remember when everything was hard to come by, I've given or sold corn to people that needed it, bottles, and they've done the same for me. Yeah, we're all in this together. And, you know, the thing is, like, I've heard that some states are very competitive against each other, but in reality, you're going up against the big guys, right? I pick on Jim and Jack because they're so big. I've never had any negative interaction with them or any of their team. But, you know, that's where we're trying to get market share, right? And they know it. You know, if I'm competing against a guy with 0.00000% market share, it's kind of stupid, right? And so, but if he and I can both get a fraction of, say, Jack or Jim's business, like, oh, well, now that's real money, and we can then, you know, buy more corn from that farmer who just bought out his dad's farm and is raising 2 kids, and, you know, like, it's very, so anyway, it's very cooperative, and it's great. We're all on good terms, except for one or two. They're dicks. That might be me. I don't know.
Love it.
Yeah, right, what is the old joke, right? If you have to wonder who the dick in the room is,
then it's you.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Oh.
Well, do you mind walking us through some?
Wait.
Oh,
I have
you
another
got
question. I got a
Sorry.
question. So what do you distribute throughout the whole country, or do you only distribute in certain areas?
We're about 22 states.
22 states.
Yeah, and yeah, so we're in 22 states, not Iowa, but you know, and it's just like trying to back to that earlier conversation I had with distributors. I've generally shied away from the larger ones and gone for more of the mom and pop distributors in the states that we're in, because then you can have an actual relationship and you can grow with them and you can have mind share with their reps and their teams. And so we're in 22 states, always looking for more, because it's, you know, this is about getting out there and getting it to consumers' hands so they can try it and hopefully enjoy it. But 22 states for now, and see where that goes this year.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, if I were to go and order off your website, you ship to Iowa, is that correct?
No, we try not to ship.
Okay.
Because it's really bad. Like, you can get into a lot of trouble. Most states don't allow you to ship into their state. We are about to work with a partner that will ship, that has the ability to do so, but not us. But like, we were when I first opened, we got an order from the great state of Michigan, and I didn't know anything, right? So you're seeing a theme here. And we shipped that bottle to the great state, and I got a letter from them saying that they could sue me for illegally shipping to the state. And I was like, hey, didn't know, but thank you for letting me know. And that's also entrapment. So good on you. I'm happy to have you talk to my lawyers about it. They never emailed me back, and I never shipped again. So there you go.
Okay, I got you.
But yeah, it's
Yes.
not like wine, right? Every state is like an independent country when it comes to spirits. So every time I go into a new state, I have to register in the state, do a report every month, and do taxes every month. And if you ship illegally into a state, they will come after you because it's about the revenue, right? They want their revenue. And so I advise people who are in my size or even bigger, just don't do it. It's not worth the liability. Like you could lose your license. You could so we don't do that ourselves. And if people order from us online, I usually go, no, thank you. Thank you for your business. I very much appreciate it. If we're already in the state, you can find us at these retailers. But we don't ship.
But you are in Nebraska, correct?
We are.
Okay.
Great partners in Nebraska. We're in Missouri. We just got into Illinois. We're also in Kansas. Yeah, so I could go down the whole list, but that would be really boring.
Yeah, that's where we learned about you from Cody Zeeb, who's part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network that we pod for.
Yeah, nice.
He works for, is it K&Z Distributing?
Yeah. Mark Thompson is my main contact there. Great organization, a lot of fun. If you follow Mark on Facebook, you'll be really disappointed in your own cooking skills. So I stopped.
Oh yeah,
like he's just like cooking up like 5-star meals like every day, and I was like, I thought you were trying to sell bourbon, jerk. But
love it. Did you have any other questions?
No,
before?
no, you can move on now.
If you don't mind, can you walk us through a tasting?
Smart husband there,
right?
Yeah, should we talk? Oh my God, look, more water already.
Oh. What would you like us to start with?
Well, if we're doing are we doing a full tasting, or are we doing
if you have time for it, we'll try them all.
Yeah. You had me hello. All right, so I would do the 80 proof, right? So we make like a thing here. We make one bourbon, right? Every day. We're like the most boring distillery in the world because we make the same mash bill every freaking day, right? Never deviates. And then that whiskey goes into a barrel, and then we can finish it the 4 different ways. So this is the 80 proof. And oh, good Lord, I overpoured. So I mean,
you overpoured for me too.
I know. I was pouring hers, and she put her hand out like whoa.
I think he has a game plan.
I feel like he does. I'm taking yours.
Okay, that's fine.
So cheers, you guys. Pleasure to meet you both.
Likewise.
And thank you for the time. So a little butterscotch, vanilla, cherry, and chocolate with honey on the finish, right? And this is at 80 proof, so really accessible. And this we usually retail on most retailers for like $29.95, which is crazy awesome.
Yeah, very good price.
It smells super sweet, like a very butterscotchy.
That's how I got kid number 3. My wife's like, I hate that joke, and I was like, that's why I tell it.
That's right.
So like, I mean, I sip this like my easy to go cocktail, right? I usually have like one a night when the boys are in bed and it's like a little quiet around the house, at least kind of. We have 2 dogs and a cat, right? That's just like the whole menagerie. So I'll pour a little bit of that bourbon, about 2 ounces, and just a splash or a skosh of port on it. And it's just like the easy poor man's, I mean, it's a Porto Manhattan, right? But not really, because you're not going to all the complexity. Not even bitters. And it just is like, just got there with my pinky out. Cool enough.
That sounds amazing. I've never put just my goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it adds a little bit of that complexity, and it's super delicious. So yeah, so that's the main base, like our main whiskey, if you will. But that's the base for all of our whiskeys. And so when we add it or put it into a amaretto barrel or the wine barrel, where we let it, age for longer, over 4 years now for the bottle and bond. It just adds that complexity, and it's more. The complexity is just more astute, right? Because it's more concentrated on the bottle and bond. So thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up, I'm hanging up. So choose wisely.
No, I really do like this. It's really easy to drink, but kind of like we talked about earlier, it's not just the one note. You do have a lot of stuff to it, but it's very easy to drink.
It is, and there's I'm tasting like a.
You won't be wrong no matter what.
No, I know. But on the nose, I really smell the butterscotch, but I taste like vanilla and cherry, and then I guess oak. Is that? Well, it would make sense to be oak, but
you have a little wood in there.
There's that, kind of afterwards.
Yeah, on the finish there.
I once was having like the worst day, and this lady came in, and I generally obviously this is a separate discussion, but I don't normally give people tasting notes before they try it. And because this one day I was being such a jerk, right? I was just in a bad, foul mood. We just had kid number 3, and I'm not sleeping, and I'm working all hours, right? Normal stuff. And she was like, well, what flavors? I was like, rusty swing. That's what you're going for. That rusty swing notes, the metallic hint. It hits the back of the palate. She's like, oh, I get it. And I was like, good Lord, woman. And then I was like, good Lord, Nathan, being such a jerk. And I just realized this little tree in the back makes me look like I'm alfalfa,
Oh yeah, sit just right,
awesome.
Just right there.
I like it.
I love it. I was like, I did do my hair, right? No,
right.
But
yeah.
So the 80 proof is so good, and the fact that it's like $29.95 is crazy.
Yeah,
and that's because we're
This is very good.
super efficient, right? Like, just the 2.2 of us.
Yeah, right.
2.2 people. But yeah, super fun. And then the reason we get so much complexity is it's a 6, and I mentioned this earlier, 6 grain mash bill, right? Nobody's doing that because nobody's that dumb. Right? So it's like corn, wheat, and 4 different malted barleys, which is unheard of, right? But we learned that from our beer friends, because they're like, let's do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and little bit of anything in the malt makes a huge impact. So it's like C120, C150, which is heavy roast, and then chocolate malt and 2-row, and that chocolate malt adds in a lot of that flavor, disproportionate to the amount that is in the mash bill.
Nice. Also, I would say if you're a texture person, my dad has become like a big texture person when it comes to whiskey, and this is not like a thin whiskey. It's not. It doesn't taste like or feel like a watered down. It's got a nice thickness to it.
Yeah.
I think that's really really impressive.
We've had some like watery whiskeys, and
I still try to stick to there's no bad whiskey, just some that are a lot better
than
others.
That's bullshit, and we all know it, right? Like, I'll never say who they are, right? Because these are people I know or people companies I respect. But some of the shit is really fucking bad, right? And it could be from a big distillery and or a small distillery.
Yes.
But
there are some big name distilleries. I don't like their whiskey.
Yeah,
I have said it before.
They're totally garbage, right? And I'll never, till my dying days, will I ever say who they are, because that's unprofessional. But there is bad whiskey out there, right?
It's
true.
Yeah.
But there's bad vodka, bad gin, bad beer, bad milk. I mean, come on. It can always be bad.
That's right.
Yes.
But I got to be careful not to ever say their names.
And we won't make you say it.
Thank you. You're very kind. So that's the 80 proof. Do you guys want to move to the amaretto? Are you guys still sipping?
I'm ready.
You ready?
But I would.
Do you want to pour this one so I don't pour too much?
If we're trying all of these, I would like you to not give me as much. I want to taste. I don't want an ounce and a half.
And we all just get along, I mean, come on.
No, you pour it. I'll spill. That's good. Thank you.
Just want to make sure you like your.
How long you guys been married?
Rule. 11 years.
11 years. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. Or
thank you.
Congratulations, Justin, Melinda. Condolences.
Yeah, I wanted to pour you enough because you have your 3-sip rule.
I do. I always try everything like I take 3 sips, and I feel like each sip I pick up more flavors, and then by the 3rd sip,
Oh, yeah.
I get it all.
I think that. Oh, Miranda. I apologize, Miranda. I misspoke your name, and I apologize.
Oh, it's okay. You're good.
The whiskey's
You're good.
already hitting my head. What can I say? Oh yeah, because I'm sweating like a freight train over here.
I was gonna say you can blame the heat. That's all right.
Oh, look, I'm like flushed.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, I gotta go jump in some water after this.
You said it's 94 there?
Yeah, it's like it never gets that hot. I'm the only.
No.
Okay, so we live on a tiny little lake, here in the Northwest, and I'm the only one rooting for global warming until I'm on a podcast and I'm sweating bullets.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's pretty nice.
This is good.
Yeah.
Would
Isn't
you be
that so
willing
good?
to Yes, would you be willing to share your bourbon sour recipe with us? Because I would like to. I
mean,
could see
it's
making that
super
with it.
simple. So depending on if you're feeling frisky, not in that sense, but just in terms of drinking. So 2 ounces of bourbon, and if you're feeling frisky and living large, it's 3. Mine is normally 3, as you're probably not surprised. 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, 3/4 ounce of a simple syrup, and then an egg white, and shake with lots of ice.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
And then kabloosh. It's so good.
I
This
bet.
with the amaretto, it's like it just adds a little bit of complexity to it. Yeah, I hate my life. It's horrible.
So I will say one thing I like about this one. I like
The
amaretto.
one thing, Justin, the one
No,
thing.
it's, one thing that really
We were
stands
getting
out to
along
me
so well.
One thing that really stands out to me is you get the amaretto, but it's not overpowering. And
No,
I
it's
like
not.
that
Right,
because
yeah.
sometimes when you have things that are aged, maybe they go too long. I don't know how all that works, but it
No,
seems
or they're
like
adding like so much sugar that it needs an insulin freaking shot,
that,
right? Like,
yeah, that
I
might
don't
be it.
need-
Yeah,
I don't need a syrup for pancakes. I'm drinking a whiskey.
right. Yeah.
Sorry,
No.
I'll stop talking.
No, you're good. No, I like that it's
good.
You get that
it's
light,
there.
yeah, you get the
But
taste
it's
of it,
not-
but not overpowering at all.
It's not all you're tasting. That whiskey bourbon is really coming through.
Yeah.
I would say that is our kind of like one of our things, right? What we're known for. It's not overpowering. And if anybody likes like syrupy, over sugared whiskey, when it's more of a liqueur, I mean, more power to them. But that's not a bourbon, right? You can't add sugar to a bourbon and be called bourbon, right? This is literally like the mash bill that I talked about in a bourbon barrel, and then it goes into an amaretto barrel, and then it goes into a bottle, right? And it's like, if you're going for the other stuff, I'm not a short order cook, and I'm not going to make you pancakes. So like, it's not going to go for you,
Sure.
And anymore, like ever since I've always liked bourbon. I've gotten really into some rye since we started the show.
Yeah.
But
Take it back. Take it back.
Only bourbon.
Bollocks. Bollocks. I got
But-
kids to feed that all need dental, damn it.
But I prefer my whiskeys neat now. And I always
Nice.
used to like prefer it in a cocktail, but I would like to try them neat. But now it's like I prefer them neat, a cocktail occasionally. But so I love that this is like you get that amaretto, but you don't have to, it's not overly sweet. So I could just sip this
on it,
neat and
and
this is awesome.
2 for 2 for you get a lot of flavor, very easy to drink, not bland, and I'm really liking the texture.
Oh,
Usually texture doesn't bother
Come
me
into
too
play.
much one way or another, but I don't like it too thin. And yeah, 2 for 2, these are very good.
You know why? Because we're all adults,
Right.
right? Like, it's like,
True.
come on. You want like, a well-rounded whiskey. You want, it's kind of you don't want it overpowering, right? But you also want it to be able to stand up in a cocktail. And getting all of those right is very hard. And that's where Maddie's a rock star. But like, because you want it to do all of it's really an interesting thing, right? We want it to be sipping neat, or we want to be able to put it in a cocktail. but technically those shouldn't be the same whiskey. But I do think ours does or is able to be both, generally speaking. Maybe not for everybody, but for those people that it's not, I don't care about them anyway. No, just kidding.
There you go.
No, that was good.
For sure.
Very good.
Should we move on to the wine barrel?
Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
Which one is your bestseller?
Okay, so it's a complex answer. I'm not trying to be obtuse, but the 80 proof is becoming our bestseller because a craft bourbon at that price point is like unheard of, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But the main SKU for 9 of our 10 years was the bottled and bond SKU, right? That started out as a 100 proof bourbon and then straight bourbon and then now bottle and bond. But the 80 proof is taking over for that one. Right.
Nice.
And every small craft distillery, especially like my size, your home state is your market. Right. And because now with all the amazing distilleries that are popping up, everyone's like, well, why would I go for 2-bar out of Seattle until you try it versus everything else that I can get? No, I mean, that's a little bit tongue in cheek, but like it's super competitive. And I bet you guys have some amazing distilleries near you. Right. But the bottle and bond was our top selling SKU until recently.
Okay.
Because it was the SKU that we had in all the stores locally. Anyway, I'm bloviating now. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
You really do smell wine.
Yeah.
Good God, that's delicious. Sorry.
It is very good. No, that's what you're here for.
That's fair. Well, then I'll just like, my God, it cures cancer.
There you go.
Great. I was about to say like it's great for toe fungus, but that would be horrible. That's a horrible joke. You can edit that one out too. It's funny because people are like, I don't ever know when to take you seriously, and I was like, only when I'm telling the truth.
Right. Again, I like that it's not overpowering wine.
Yeah.
Very
but you get that notes, right? Like it's that complexity and the mouthfeel on this one I really like, right? Almost like that texture.
What kind of wine barrels do you use?
Yeah, so I will say this. It's a blend of different bold reds, right? So like Merlot and all those ones, Sangiovese, and because like, so this one can change a little bit more batch to batch because we work with a single winery, Sparkman Winery, here in just northeast of Seattle in Woodinville. Great winery, and we get our barrels from them. So it's a blend, right? So it can change a little bit, but it doesn't change a lot. But it's that blend that kind of makes it what it is and allows for a little bit more stability than if we just picked one, right? Because reds and wine changed from vintage to vintage so dramatically. But it's like a lot of different barrels that go into it. But I'm not trying to be obtuse. I just, just trying to be as forthright.
And then would that change to like if the winery, because I know sometimes wineries their wines can vary from year to year based on
for sure
the crop of grapes.
Yeah.
So this could be, but this is good.
Yeah.
This is so good.
It's so
I swallowed mine
good.
down the wrong hole, so
You need to calm down.
He's just too excited.
Right.
He went a little too frisky.
That's right. It is very good though. Even inhaling it, it's good.
It's good for sinus infections in that case. And no, I don't.
It clears you up.
Yeah.
No, this is good.
I can't put any of that on the label. The TTB would shut me down. But yeah.
Right.
Oh,
and you can see why I like. It's definitely like it's one of my favorites, right? Like it's.
This is.
And we do one of these for a local retailer. It's a barrel strength at 107 proof wine barrel. That's so good, right? And you sound horrible, man.
I know. I need it. I'm gonna need to clear my throat.
You sound like a chain smoking grandma all of a sudden. Hey, everybody. What do you think of the potatoes? Everybody sit, dinner's ready.
Love it.
Do you drink water? Like, what do you need to do to
Yeah.
get this out of your lungs?
Drink more whiskey. The only answer.
You gonna survive?
Yep, I'll make it.
Okay.
Can we restart?
Oh, Justin.
Anyways, 107 proof, you said?
I'm sorry, 107 proof. You said. I feel like all of a sudden we're like reenacting scenes from Beetlejuice, the movie, right? Like,
Which they're making a second one of, apparently.
get out of freaking town, really?
They are.
Yeah, with Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. He's reprising his role as Batman, as Beetlejuice.
One,
He's just bringing
Michael
everything
Keaton
back.
is a rock star, right? He's awesome. But two, can we make new movies already? Like, you know, it's like
Everything is remade. Everything gets remade.
It's like whiskey, right? Go for new, create like, don't redo what's already been done. That just means that creatively, you guys, the movie industry is fucked.
Yeah. Somebody needs to take a flyer.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't care about all the remakes, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't get it. There's some like even Mission Impossible 22 didn't do that well, right? Like, and it was supposedly really good. I don't know. I don't go to the movies anymore because it's like, show me something new, right? But but that's my my credo, right? With whiskey and everything else, it's like food. Do you remember what we used to freaking eat as kids? I don't know about you guys, but we ate a lot of hot dishes growing up in Texas, right? Like, and now food, and I love a good hot dish. Don't get me wrong. I love a good hot dish. But food now is so freaking good and different and unique, right? Like, and it's available to everybody. True. Can the movies not do the same shit? They're doing hot dishes every day.
I know.
True.
Right? True. I mean, I love cream of mushroom as much as anybody. Like, come on. All right, I'll stop talking. I'm making an ass of myself now.
You are good.
You're good.
I'm sorry, chain smoking grandma.
Don't make me laugh while I'm trying to drink.
Don't repeat.
Yeah, yep.
That one so far has been my favorite. I really like I like them all. Like, they're all really good so far. But I really like this wine one.
If I may, I was like, we may not be for everybody's palate and flavor profile, right? And their preferences, but at least everything is well made. Right. Yeah. And I think that bar, like, I mean, so I've seen the craft industry now for 10 years. And a lot of the shit was garbage. Right. And I know I shouldn't be saying that, but I'm a little intoxicated now. One, I'm sweating bullets. It's super fucking hot here.
Anything goes.
But like, if you are not, you may like, none of us are for everybody, right? Because the mass market is not going to be for super complex, extravagant, flavorful stuff, right? But if you're not making good stuff, regardless of everything else, you're hosed. And I encourage everybody, like, focus on the quality, focus on the cuts, focus on the grains, the cuts, and the process, and then go for what you're doing, right? Because without that, you're dead man walking, dead man in the water, and that's no good.
For sure.
And on that little soliloquy, I'm going to pour some more whiskey.
Yes.
All right.
Bottled and bond, anyone?
Yeah, please.
I love a good bottled and bond.
My son's going to come upstairs. So the other two are gone at Grandma and Grandpa, right? House. And the 8-year-old who I'm taking to Scout camp, Cub Scout camp tomorrow is going to be like, Dad, have you been drinking all day?
Yes, I have.
Well, there's no alcohol at Scout, so I got to make up for it.
There you go.
So
just
cheers
blame
again.
Old-fashioned football. Cheers.
But look at the color on that one, right?
Yes.
Or like,
it's nice, yeah.
It's a very rich color.
Yeah, that's what I was
so this is 100 proof. And that same butterscotch, that same vanilla, that same cherry and chocolate, but now aged over 4 years at 100 proof. But, and pardon the turn of phrase, also super smooth.
Very.
It is the same smell, the same notes.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
It's the only reason I have friends.
You don't want to name the other places, but I will pick this over the Jack Bonded any day.
I didn't hear you. Sorry, we had a bad connection.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, this is good.
This is very good. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one is like, it's so crazy. And I'll be honest, I'm exceptionally proud of the fact that as a small craft distillery with a really dedicated team, that we actually have a bottled in bond that's available like all the time. Right. Like I remember early days when I thought the walls were closing in, right? Like never bootstrap a whiskey distillery. It's like going up against life when going up against a Sicilian when life is on the line, right? Or doing a land war in Asia, if you know that reference.
Yep.
And a good friend of mine, Andrew Borer, was saying, Nathan, just keep doing what you're doing and make bourbon, right? And I was like, well, that's what we're doing. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing. And like the fact that we got to that point and it's so good is like, it's so fun and so rewarding because like, that's fucking delicious.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Oh,
no,
you're
this is
talking
good.
normal again. Welcome to the party.
It was the
Grandma has
bottled in bond
left.
that fixed me.
Grandma's left the room.
I will say there's only one bad thing about this, and that's that we have to drive to Nebraska more often now to get
This
it.
is good. Cody can.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm working on
Cody comes to
Iowa.
Iowa.
If you know a good distributor in Iowa, I'd love to talk to them.
We need to get some distributing connections with our podcast, and we'll start there, and then maybe we can get you hooked up.
Yes.
To be honest, like along those lines, you guys have talked to a lot of really cool people. And if those kinds of connections are make or break for small distilleries such as myself, or and if you could do that, it makes a disproportionate impact for the small guys, right? The big guys already have their distributors, and I think I wouldn't make it as a prerequisite or anything, but like what you guys are doing in helping small brands like myself is huge, and I'm ever so thankful, right? Because it's a competitive marketplace where everybody's trying to get their millisecond of fame. I'm not on OnlyFans, so although, okay, can I tell you a highly inappropriate story that's I think hilarious?
Yes,
Absolutely.
please do.
So my wife and I were in Salt Lake City. We flew to Salt Lake City with our 3 boys and drove to Carbondale, Colorado for my sister's wedding, right?
Okay.
And I officiated the wedding, which I hate doing, but it was my joy and my pleasure to do for them. And we drove back to Salt Lake City with my other sister, so we caravan. And we were trying to fly back. This is like a few weeks ago. And we were trying to fly back to Seattle for all the stuff going on here. My son's birthday was this is more than a few weeks, but late June, right? And my youngest son's birthday is on June 30th. There will be no quiz. And like every plane from Salt Lake was getting canceled because everything on the East Coast was canceled, right? And I was like, all right, well, so randomly the 3rd plane was canceled. We're like, we're driving. And good Lord, where was I going with this? God. Dang.
OnlyFans.
Thank you. We're landing that plane. Woo. So we decided to drive the 15, 17 hours from Salt Lake back to Seattle to get back in time for my youngest son's birthday party, which we were hosting, right? And we stopped. My wife, I was like, we're not stopping. We're getting gas and we're going, right? I told the boys, I was like, go to the bathroom now. No fiber the whole way because we're not stopping for any reason. My wife, of course, shut all that down. And she goes, and by the way, I have friends in this La Grande in Northeast Oregon. And I was like, what are you doing? We're trying to get home. I'll be the one driving until 4 a.m. in the morning. She's like, we're stopping for dinner with my friends. I was like, damn it. So we stop at this brewery, and we have dinner. And I was like, someone was taking our photo with them because we had to waste more time. And they were like, is this for your TikTok? And I go, no, it's for my OnlyFans. And like, I don't know what OnlyFans is. Okay, that's not true. But I heard about it. And like everybody in the bar went when they heard the term OnlyFans and like just stared at us. And my kids were like, what's OnlyFans? And I was like, this got awkward really quick. So yeah, I made quite an impression in rural Oregon with a joke about OnlyFans.
That's awesome.
Love
it.
it. Hey,
Jinx.
Jinx. Stop it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Anyway, that's what my boys do. Are you okay there? I thought we were having a moment. Are you in a moment?
We're good.
Yeah, that my favorite's the Bottle and Bond. That is very good.
That is so good.
Yeah.
I think I have to agree with you. My second favorite is the wine. The amaretto is very good. I feel like that's gonna be like I'm in the mood for this, so I'm gonna go to that type of thing. This Bottle and Bond is
Yeah.
oh my
All
God.
four are very good.
I mean, it's
textures.
crazy, right? And at 100
Yeah.
proof,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm really
It's-
proud of that one.
Yeah, it's a very that was too easy to drink. It's so good.
Yeah, it's like I said, I would pick this over the Jack Bonded any day.
No.
Though I mean, you got me the Jack Bonded because I wanted to try it.
You
'cause
wanted
I
to
do
try
like
it.
Bottle and Bond, and I
Mhm.
just wasn't that impressed. But
I've never had it, and
Yeah.
so, and I feel like
I
I'm
wasn't that
okay.
impressed.
You
Yep.
don't need to try it because this is really good.
Aw, you guys are the best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, for real though. One other.
Wait, did you just
Oh.
say for real though?
For real though.
For real though.
I was trying to. Well, I'm trying to catch my train of thought here.
For
do you
real
distribute-
though?
do
What's
you
up, bro?
distribute in Minneapolis?
Yeah, we are in Minneapolis
Or
with
Minnesota,
Bellboy
I mean.
Distributing. He's like, now
Okay.
this guy's being a dick laughing at my for real though.
No.
Go ahead, laugh at him.
Yeah,
He needs it.
yeah, you can laugh at me. I'm good with that.
No, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you.
With you.
Because I'm thinking, I wonder if we can talk with. I don't know if you've heard of Ace Spirits in Minneapolis. They're a liquor store. I'm wondering if they work with your distributor because they do ship to, I think, 42 of the states, if I'm not
good
mistaken.
Lord.
So
Yeah.
if Two Bar was there, then we
it'd
could
be
just
fine.
order it and get it
Mhm.
shipped. So
And I would point people to Ace Spirits all day long, right? Because
yeah, right.
everybody wins.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
You know
Yeah.
anybody at Ace?
Yeah, we
Yep.
actually we interviewed their owner Luke because he's a huge bourbon guy, all whiskey, but he loves bourbon. So
This
yeah,
is an
what did you
American.
say?
I love it.
That's right.
So I
What
used
was
to get in
the
trouble
distributor
before.
there?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, what was the distributor you work with in Minnesota?
Bellboy.
Okay, I'm gonna.
So I
ask
got
him
in
about
trouble
that.
before COVID. I would always like in a big group, right? When we were doing those kind of, and we're doing it more now, thank God. But like, and I'd be like, all right, who here likes scotch? And people, and like, I love scotch, but the joke is what the joke is. And people would raise their hand, and I go, I'm a fucking patriot. I drink bourbon. And like some of the Scotch guys would get the joke and they'd be like, ha ha. But the other guys would be like, which made me laugh even more, right? I was like,
Right,
come on,
yeah.
guys. You got to be able to laugh at yourselves, right? Like you're just
That's right. So you got these four. You also have one I saw on the website, Counterbalance Whiskey.
Yes. So
Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so that's so we're a bourbon distillery asterisk, right? But
Yeah.
we worked with them and we made their Imperial Russian Stout mash bill, which is a single malt, and then aged it for over 4 years in one of our bourbon barrels. So like the single malt like stout notes come all the way through, and it's delicious. But we don't like it's only out of the tasting room.
Okay. Well, I guess we better plan a trip to.
We're gonna have to come out there and try it.
We might be able to work something out, and make that work for
Yeah.
you guys.
And then I was just browsing your website. You guys also have a chocolate bar that's made with your bourbon.
It's not our chocolate; it's Spinnaker chocolate. So they get our bourbon and then make their chocolate with, and it's delicious. Yeah, Kelly is his name, and he just had. I think they had their first son or first kid, and the chocolate is really good. I'm biased, of course. But yeah, available on their website. I think it's spinnakerchocolates.com.
Okay.
Okay.
So definitely check that out. On your website, I just wanted to let the listeners know, in case they are in Seattle, you can purchase a tasting and tour for two for $25, which comes with the tour, tastings, and 2 shot glasses. And then there's also a gift box, which includes tasting and tour for $4, jar of Demerara sugar cubes, small batch chocolate bitters, a muddler, and a recipe to make your favorite bourbon old fashioned. I'm going to have to see if you'll just give us that recipe since we're old fashioned football. But my question there, do you guys make the chocolate bitters?
Yes. So our
Nice.
Sony makes it from it's kind of awesome actually. So we give, or that's not true. We sell, but anyway, the bourbon to Spinnaker Chocolate for their chocolate bars, and then we get the what's left back, and it's like this super cacao like infused chocolate, and then we make bitters out of it. And actually, that's
awesome.
Sony.
Awesome.
Sony is our the resident mixologist, and she makes it all. It's awesome.
Very
And
cool.
all the money goes to
That's neat.
Sony, which is the best.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
And then are you guys open for tours just on weekends, or do you go all through the week?
It's a little convoluted.
Okay.
So during the summer, right, we are generally closed because it's so fucking hot. Like it's like 117 degrees in the distillery. And Maddie has the 3 kids, and I've got 3 kids. So we open up again September 1st, and we have our hours are essentially 9 to 3. But if you email the info@twobarspirits.com, we'll find a way to make it work for you.
Perfect.
Okay. Awesome.
Did you have any other questions?
I'm good. Is there anything that we didn't ask you or anything you want to share?
I mean, my mother's maiden name is McGrew. I'm not going to give you the last 4 digits of my social. My high school friend, never mind.
No, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on our show. We've had a great time with you.
Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you.
Your bourbon is amazing.
Yes, very much so.
If anyone is listening and located in a state where you can get to bar, highly recommend that you try it.
Or go to Ace Spirits in Minnesota, right? In the Twin
Yes,
Cities.
Right.
and hopefully it will be on the shelves there soon too.
Yeah, for sure.
Amen to that. Well, thank you both for your time. It's been a joy. Thanks for putting up with my shitty humor. I've appreciated
I
it.
love
I
it.
hope you guys have as well.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yep. Love the humor.
You say that now.
Everybody can go to our web post, or if you're listening to this on your streaming platform, we'll have a link to the website so you can find out more about Two Bar Spirits. Check out the webpage. We'll have some photos there of the distillery that were taken from your Instagram. And yeah, if you don't have anything else to add, I think we'll close it out.
No, you guys have been awesome. Thank you again for the time, and I'm glad you guys like the whiskey. I know
Absolutely.
I do.
You.
I do too. Yep. Thank you. And thank you for your time. Cheers.
Take care, you guys. Stay
You
out
too.
of trouble. No more
I'll
drinking
try.
tonight.
No more, Justin.
No promises.
Take care, you guys.
You too.
You
Bye.
too. Thank you.
All right. Thanks again to Nathan Kaiser from Two Bar Spirits. He was hilarious. I had a lot of fun talking with
This
him.
was fun. This is definitely a fun interview. I just felt so comfortable.
Yeah.
I think he's a funny guy.
Absolutely.
And I
funny
think
guy.
that makes
Yeah.
it just so much.
Some good jokes.
Yes.
I'm not editing those out, Nathan. I am sorry.
Sorry, Nathan. They're staying.
That's right. I apologize that I swallowed with the wrong hole there, or inhaled it and sounded like a grandma for a little bit, but the whiskey was phenomenal. Really liked it.
This is so good.
Yeah.
That bottle and bond, before I tried that,
Yeah.
the wine is good. They're all very good.
Yeah.
But
for
I
sure.
was thinking that just their straight bourbon,
Yeah.
I felt like that could become a real go-to.
Mhm.
Trying that bottle and bond, it is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I still love the straight bourbon. This bottle and bond is special.
Yeah. If you see Jack
Mhm.
Bonded sitting on the shelves, get this bottle and bond instead. I promise. I don't know if there's a price difference, but it is worth it. Speaking of bottled and bond, how's your bottled and bond over there?
It is gone. People actually get to see it being gone today.
There you go. Going once, going twice.
Sold.
Old-fashioned football.